time to start, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to welcome you on the meeting of the Toastbusters Club. My name is Irina Suvorova and I'm the president of this club. We are a part of a big Toastmasters family all over the world. In every big city in Europe and the USA, you can find a Toastmasters club and visit it for free for enjoying warm and friendly atmosphere where you can develop your own leadership and public speaking skills. Actually, our main purpose is to help people to grow as speakers, leaders, and also to find new friends. In this connection, I would like firstly to ask you to take your mobile phones and switch off all sounds on it, in order not to distract our speakers while we will come on the stage. We always worry about it, no matter how much experience we have in our life. So I will switch off my sounds also. How many newcomers are here? Who is in first time? Let's welcome on the stage. I would like to ask you for a short introduction, and I would like our Vice President Membership, Alexander Shedov, to join us also on the stage in order he can introduce you. Please.
Even it's quite cold outside, we feel that winter is in the air almost. We see lots of current and future leaders in our club. And now we start as usually from introducing our new friends. Please answer me 4 easy questions. Your name, your occupation, how do you know about our club, and what is your expectation from this upcoming experience? Would you please start?
Right, so I'm Alex, I'm from Vienna, I'm a trainer and coach, and I found out about the club through a couple of the other Russian Toastmasters because I first attended last year at the conference and I got to know a few of you quite well, like Christina, like Irina, that guy who I'm not sure is here. And what's my expectation? I just want to have a really fun and awesome time and see how a different Toastmasters club in a different part of the world is operating.
Hi, my name is Tony. I'm. Did you have to tell the age?
Actually, it's not necessary,
Okay,
but it's up to you.
I'm 17, just like. I learned about this club from my friend Kirill. Thank you. I want to thank him a lot. So about expectations, I'm not sure what I want to learn from this club, but what I know for sure is that I'm really curious about the stories that people can tell us and share, and it'd be really cool to know and learn some stuff from them. So yeah, I'm just really curious.
Hi, my name is Irina. I'm an English and Spanish teacher and I'm into storytelling, and I've been wanting to come to this club for many months. I always put that I'm going and I've never been, so today I decided to actually do it. I'm just curious to get acquainted with the club.
Hello, my name is Elena. I'm a communication professional and I work with global teams all around the world. And just a few days ago, I was in the library and decided that it could be fun to visit this meeting and see how it's going on. So I'm quite excited about it.
Hello, my name is Alexander and I'm just IT engineer. I find information about this club in social media, and I try to hear. That's all.
You are in an awesome place to achieve all your goals, and for now, please have a seat, enjoy the meeting. And in the second part of the meeting, you will have a chance to practice your public speaking skills right from the beginning. And back to you, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you, Adish. So let's start our meeting. We will have 4 prepared speeches today. And also at every meeting there are a special theme of the meeting. And which subject we will discuss today? We will hear from our Toastmaster of the evening, wonderful Denis Shevchuk.
Hey, I'm wonderful Denis Shevchuk. Do you want to know how old I am?
I want to know how wonderful you are.
I'm 37.
I'm already scared.
Hey,
You look like 38.
No, you look like 18.
36. Come on. All right. That's the meeting, people. Thank you very much for being here. All right. For those of you who are new here, Irina, Yelena, Tony, 17-year-old Tony. What are we doing here? We have 2 parts of the meeting. The first part of the meeting, the main part, is we have speeches. The second part of the meeting is we have table topics. An interesting part. Irina, Yelena, Tony participated in table topics. Small improvisational speeches. Try it. And then we have evaluation. Really interesting part. If you evaluate, you can criticize people, and it's okay. I enjoy the part. Now, we have, apart from speeches and evaluations, we have people who help you with minor details. One of the details, or the important details, is the timing of your speeches. Every speaker, every role performer here has a time limit. And we have a special person, Eugene Bykov, who helps us with watching time. Take this. I'm telling you his role today because we don't have much time. When you reach your lower time limit, he shows you the green light. When you have 30 seconds to wrap up, he shows you the yellow light. You see the yellow light, you understand that you don't have much time. When he shows you the red light, you're not welcome on stage anymore. Right? We are kind people, but please be considerate about the time. And the thing is, I forgot to tell you, we have topics of our meetings as well. And the topic of, you understand? The topic today is flow. Do you know about the flow state?
Yes.
Who doesn't know about flow state, psychological flow state? Now you're sitting here. Now you're sitting here and you're listening to me. Hopefully. And you have ideas, like I need to buy bread, my leg hurts, I have problems at my job. You're not concentrated. You give me a portion of your attention. And all the other portions are distributed elsewhere. Flow is a wonderful state when you do a thing and you only do the thing. You don't think about anything else. Usually when you do it, when you're in the flow state, you enjoy the process and you don't watch your time. You don't count your time. You do something, you swim, you jog, you work if you're happy, if you're a happy person, lucky person, and you don't notice the time. You set the computer at your work, the lights comes off, you say, what's happening? The day is over. That's what flow state is. Wonderful state. And I wanted to ask people, the participants, have they ever experienced the flow? What were they doing specifically at that moment? And their ideas about how to get into the state. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I asked Eugene as well. And he told me that he usually experiences flow when he's running, right? Or playing chess. Intellectual activities. And
Especially running.
come on.
It's an intellectual activity, by the way.
Come on. And the thing is, and regarding the advice on how to get to the state, Eugene says that you have to pick something you like. You have to be well rested, if I'm not mistaken. Let it be. And a couple of other things. You find that in yourself. Thank you very much. Now we have a couple of other rules as well. We have Eugene watching your time. We have Kirill, right? Who's watching? Yeah, sit up so people know. Thank you very much. How old are you, by the way?
18.
18. A mature man. Kirill is watching your parasitic words. Sometimes when you speak on stage, you don't say, I want to tell you a speech. You say, I want to, tell you a speech, And things you don't have to use. He watches you. You'll be speaking on stage, and after the meeting is over, he will come to the stage and he says, Eugene, well done. Irina, work on yourself, right? You know about yourself. And that's what I asked Kirill as well about flow state. And Kirill was in the flow state in the moment, so he forgot to answer me.
He was in the flow.
He probably in the flow, doing something at the moment. And we have the third important role, grammarian. And I'm not sure, Galina. Is Galina here? Oh, Galina. Hey, Galina. For most of you, English is not your native language. For all of us, English is not our native language.
Including.
Is it?
Yeah.
Alex is the exception. He's from Africa, living in Vienna. I don't know that English was native tongue in Africa, but whatever.
Where is Callum? Callum is not here.
Callum's not here. Forget about Callum. And Galina will help us because we don't know English perfectly well. She will be watching us, and she will come to the stage and say, use words like that, pronunciation like that, tenses like that. She will help us with that. And she also prepared a word of the day for you. And the word of the day is apparently. I know the meaning of the word, but it's difficult for me to explain it to you, so you can read it on the screen. And the idea is, the more times you use the word while on the stage, the better for you. You will be the winner of this small contest during our time. I asked Galina about her flow state as well, and she wrote a really long letter, and the idea, as I understood it, was that she finds herself pretty often in the state, in many different activities, which is cool. Regarding the advice as how to get to it, I didn't understand the advice.
Just to start.
Just to start. There you are. Just to start. Just start
do it.
something.
Just do it.
You are really lucky if you just can start something and come into flow. All right, we have speeches, and one of the first short speeches today is thought of the day. The person who delivers thought of the day is Alina Kim. Alona Kim. Wait a second. I asked her about her flow state, and she said me, Dennis, that's the topic of my speech. Please welcome Alona.
Hi everyone. So my thought of the day will be, is it possible to hack the flow state? So I don't know, is it okay that my thought will be the first one? I mean, how to hack it. So what is the flow state? The flow state is something, it's something we all experience from time to time. It's something like when you whether it's in sports, studying, or any other activity we enjoy to spend time with. So it's really easy to describe this state. As Dennis said, you feel very high, you are very relaxed in a clear mind. Amazing feeling, right? But the only negative part of all of this, that you cannot control over this state, or you don't have any power on it. So some times ago, I started to ask myself, is it possible to hack the flow state? Actually, I'm a designer, and I really need to be in a flow state almost every time because of my deadlines, because of my different types of clients. Many years ago, I noticed one strange thing of me. Every time, before I started my work, I was really need to go a quiet place to put my hoodie with hood on, and then to start my work. So that was really strange, I know. But since that time, I continue to work in the same way. Every time, before I start my work, I go to a quiet place to put my hood on and then to start my work. Because under my hood, I feel something special space where only me and my thoughts are. So now I know that I need only 3 things to get into the flow state. The first one is loneliness in a quiet place. The second one is my trigger. As for me, it's a hood. So the last one is permanence, because to make a good habit, it's really necessary to do it from day by day. So, dear Toastmasters, what is your personal trigger? I wish all of you to find your special personal trigger and to be in a flow state every time when it's necessary. Thank you.
Great tips. Really specific. Thank you, Alena. We finally came to the main part, the speeches part. The first speaker is Vladimir Danilenko with his speech, Not Today. I asked Vladimir what was his flow state experiences and what tips could he share with us. And he told me, apparently he answered me, and he told me that he actually loved mountain hiking. Right? You understand me, I think. Just in case. And the way to get into the state was to be well rested. That was your advice, not Eugene's. And switch off your mobile phones, for example, because they provide a lot of interruptions. Please welcome Vladimir.
Thank you, Dean. Often we sail on our day-to-day lives without paying much attention on how fragile we are. Sometimes, rather rarely, we can pick an evidence on how frail our existence can become at any moment. Dear fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, would you like to know how would you behave in a situation when you have a very real perspective of your own demise? Not in some faraway future, but right here and right now. Once I had a chance to test myself in a similar situation. And I will tell you a story about this. In this story, things could go just a tiny bit different, and I would not stand here in front of you, or anywhere else, as a matter of fact. This will be a story of my unexpected meeting with my own end, and which lessons I learned from this experience. As always, in stories like this, it starts in a bright sunny day, the beginning of June. Me and my 2 colleagues were going down the Kiev city center when we were on a business trip. We were approaching, in a leisure fashion, the Hotel Ukraine, one of the famous Stalinist skyscrapers, which rises above, maybe even more famous right now, Maidan Square, in the very heart of the restless capital. The only thing left for me to do in this business trip was to get to my room, located on the 9th floor of the building, grab my stuff and depart to the airport. So I sprinted the entrance stairs, approached the elevators. Together with me, a married couple embarked on the cabin and 2 maids dressed in yellow. The door closed and we started rising. Very soon the door opened and it is pitch black outside. I thought to myself, that's rather unusual. That very moment, suddenly the smoke started rushing into the cabin. The 2 maids immediately flew out of the cabin like 2 canaries and disappeared in the dark void. We, the rest of us, rushed the opposite corner to the management panel of the elevator and started desperately trying to close the door and get the heck out of here. But nothing worked. The door was automatically blocked and we had to come up with some new ideas how to get out of the situation. Suddenly, the things became really slow. The puff of smoke entering the cabin my own movements, actions of the frantic couple, everything was like in an action movie, you know, like in the Matrix. I heard about this experience some time ago, of course, but I never experienced it firsthand. Now it was. What a useful perk is to have in a critical situation, you would think. Slow time style. How great it is. Unfortunately, not in my occasion. I immediately started remembering all of the things I was taught in school about fires, and none of the advices really could help me. Put damp cloth in front of my mouth and nose, I didn't have any water on me. Kneel down to get some air at the bottom. I tried, but I couldn't breathe anyway. The air was too harsh, and I actually was afraid I'm going to faint or even black out. Tried to find some glowing stripes near the floor and locate the exit sign. I couldn't see any. Everything around was pure darkness. I was surprisingly calm, however. So I didn't have any visions of my childhood running in front of my eyes. No, I didn't panic, nothing like that. I sensed the married couple somewhere near me, but I couldn't see them. Together we started shouting in order to get at least some voice assistance. A full epoch passed. Maybe it could be mere seconds, but it felt much, much longer. And we heard a faint voice. It was one of the maids. So we started following that voice, and in a few seconds, inside the pitch black, there was a gray area. When we approached it, it became even brighter. And at last, we saw a staircase. Only when I was running down the staircase, I fully realized gradually the depth of the situation I was in. And only then my reaction arrived. My hand became shaky and I started cursing like a trooper. Later that evening, I read in the news that everyone in the building were actually saved by the firefighters. But the whole 9th floor was destroyed. So what did this occasion learn? What lessons I learned from this occasion? Unfortunately, not too much. I didn't panic that particular time. I guess this is good. But besides that, any life-changing insight, any lifelong lesson, tipping point, something like this? No. I believe people tend to put too much attention on the critical situations. Some may even covet a situation like this to make a lasting impact on their lives. But when it comes to reality, the day-to-day life quickly swallows you back, your attention, and you end up in the same situation you was before. Maybe one thing did change though. Now I do not complain amidst a fire field.
Vladimir with his thriller Almost Dead in Ukraine. Did you like his speech?
Yes.
Do you want to tell anything about the speech to him? Pleasant or otherwise?
Please do.
Right. The thing is, you evaluate his speech already. And we have two ways to do that. The first one is new age, electronically. The second one is old school. If you want to try old school, let me know, raise your hand and I'll pass you the evaluation sheet. The time is up. Are you ready for the second speaker? Nobody is, but she still takes the stage. The second speaker is Tatiana Gladisheva. And I have a personal message. Tanya, finally. The second speech, finally. You've been around for a long, long time. This is your 10th speech. Congratulations. Now, I asked Tanya about helpful experiences. And she told me, Dennis, I have a job, I have two kids. I have two kids, I go to Toastmasters. If I'm not in full state, I won't be able to handle it. And so her tip is, deliver 2 children, find a job and go to Toastmasters. It'll be easy for you to find full states then, especially guys. Now, Tatiana with her, please welcome Tatiana with her 10th speech, Faith.
You just introduced the best part of me, the person I always wanted to be, but let's see. Dear Madam President, fellow Toastmasters, guests, do you trust anyone? Who do you trust? How often we hear the words we don't believe? Most of the time we just make the faces and forget about them. Mom, can I skip the school because I don't feel well? My son asks me time to time. I'm like, yeah right, you don't feel well? Get up, brush your teeth and run to school. You are already late. That's what I usually say. One of these days, his teacher called me back and told me that he was really sick, so she had to send him home. And that morning he complained on abdominal pain. So I felt really bad because I didn't catch the illness, but most of all, because I didn't trust my son. I didn't trust someone who I teach to be honest and trust people. If a homeless person holding a poster with a very doubtful story of his asks you for money, do you give it to him? Do you believe him? I always remember all these horrible stories about gypsy mafia, which hurt people to make them work with all these disgusting details. This is just, I never give money to beggars. I don't believe them. In 2017, in Manchester arena bombing, 22 people died. 140 of them were injured. More than half of them were children. Stephen Jones, homeless guy, was sleeping near arena when he was awakened by the blast. He rushed there to help the victims of the explosion, pulling out nails out of children's faces and arms. He had no medical background, no knowledge of how to treat a child who just lost her legs, or extracting nails out of kids' faces. A homeless person who was sleeping on the street, who was forgotten by the society. He said it was just an instinct. I wouldn't be able to live with myself for walking away and leaving kids like that. And I'm sure that moment he didn't think if I can trust them or if they trust me. He just helped, and that changes everything, everything. That breaks all stereotypes, and that's what faith is. Faith in people, faith in someone you love, even sometimes they do irrational things. Well, my own story of faith is a bit controversial, but I think what makes it unique. So I'm going to tell it to you right now. Many years ago, I went to a cruise ship to Caribbeans with my husband. We were young, outgoing, and in love with each other. I was a budget planner and family bank holder, which means every single expense was subject to my approval. Among numerous of activities on that cruise ship was a casino, which was open 24/7. The ship operates in 2 countries, so basically there is no law to control this kind of activity, casino. So my husband invited me to that interesting place. Personally, I strongly believe that gambling is nothing but wasting money and time. So when he lost his hope to have fun in the casino, he went upstairs to enjoy water slides. Guess what he found up there? A casino chip. So he went to the casino, bet that chip to the number of my birthday, and won. When he came back to the stateroom where I slept with a stack of cash and extremely proud of himself, I didn't want to believe my eyes. I didn't want to listen to him. But he was willing to continue and demonstrate me how it works. I still didn't want to give up my position regards gambling, but the curiosity took the best of me. So we went to the casino, we came there, he bet again. Guess what happened? He won again. If I didn't witness that, I would never believe that was possible. And when he just prepared to receive his next jackpot, he noticed that his chips are on different field. And when he claimed that to the dealer, the guy didn't want to listen to someone who was saying, oh, I just won, but somehow my chips are not there, give me my price, give me my word. My husband was very nice guy, but very insistent. So he persuaded the dealer to review the video from camera above the table. And what they found out, that one lady moved my husband's chips with her long sleeve while she was placing her bets. So that was visible on the camera. So he got his winning in full. Can you imagine that? That was a double award for predicting winning numbers and for being insistent. I didn't want to believe what was going on. We were so happy. And winning number was as big after playing gambling. The winning number was as big as half of our cruise budget. So should I tell you what we did for the rest of the day and night? We celebrated luck, love, and faith. And that cruise story is one of the most memorable stories of my life. It makes me smile and cry at the same time. When we get together, we always remember that story in a very small detail, even though we are no longer together. What unites all my stories? It inspired me to trust people and remember that if someone tells you something you don't want to hear, it doesn't mean it's a lie. Your expectations most of the time have nothing to do with the faith. If someone helps you with any visible reason, it doesn't mean you're going to be built for that. It's okay to help people. People we love need our faith more than others. Give it to them. Trust each other.
Vladimir takes the stage. And he says, I'm going in the lift. And it's open, and there's smoke, and I was afraid to die. I say, okay, it was a thriller. Tanya comes to the stage, says, there was an explosion. Children with nails in their faces. And I'm, oh my God, what's going to be next? Right. If you liked Tanya's speech, and it was a good speech. It was a good speech. Congratulations. And want something to tell her, please either use the electronic means or raise your hand and I will approach you for the evaluation form and give it to you so you can evaluate her. Action. I just love you people enjoying the meeting. Hey, do you want to hear the third speech? Just imitate interest, come on, we're Toastmasters, we have to support each other. Yes. That's how you do it, that's how you do it. The third speaker is a really special speaker. Not only she's the president, she's an experienced speaker. She's been placing in different contests. She'll deliver a quality speech. And I asked her, Irina, when are you in flow state? You know what she answered me? When I'm writing speeches. That's your Toastmaster. When I'm writing speeches, not swimming, not mountain high, writing speeches. And I asked her, oh really, really, how did you get there? And she said, I don't know, I'm talented, I have a muse. Please welcome Irina with her speech. Great, the greatest.
I presented in this club my 10 weeks plan. How to increase the number of members, to intensify the PR activities and rise the level of our club. 10 weeks. Now it's November already. So I delayed the announcement of my results. I had great ambitions. That's a poor soldier who never wants to become a general, right? And I also met several problems during implementation of my project, so I decided to give my report a little bit later. And now, finally, after 5 months of hard work, it's time. Let's review the results. Firstly, I wanted to intensify the number, our PR, to increase the number of our special meetings and of course the number of our social networks activities. And we did it at least twice. We increased the number of the mentions of the club in different social networks. We provided 2 special meetings in August, one with workshop from Larissa Zorina and another one outside of the club with games, mafia and rhetoric games. And also we are planning another special meeting, actually next Friday, dedicated to youth leadership program and speechcraft. I will remind about it to you at the end of the meeting. So now we are very active in Facebook, maybe you have already noticed. Another goal, except of PR, number of members. My plan was very aggressive. I planned to increase the number of members at least by 50%, but actually we haven't implemented it. Only 10% growth we have now, as we lost several people after September. And now we have 22 members, comparing to the summer when we have only 20 members. Another goal, ecological one, decrease of paper. As you noticed, we use QR codes every meeting, and we have implemented this task more than twice. We decrease the paper consumption. I usually see how people are voting on the meetings, and almost all of you uses QR codes. Thank you for you. It not always save our time, but also save our planet. And what about my 4th goal? It was how to find our specific feature, our uniqueness, what it can be. Let's review our achievements. Maybe it's educational purposes. We have several contest winners after our winter conference. 2 second-place winners and 1 third-place winner in speech contest. Does it enhance the prestige of the club? Apparently, yes. But there is nothing special about it from my view. Traditionally, Toastbusters members won many speech contests every time on the area conferences. Education, maybe. We are planning to implement DCP goals in time. Now our Tatiana Gladышeva has completed her CC, and the 2 our other members have completed their first paths according to Pathways program. It's wonderful, and it's actually our main purpose as the club to provide a special atmosphere for personal development and growth for every club member. So we are not unique in it, as every club in Moscow should provide such opportunities to their members. Another aspect, we have a wonderful team. Maybe you know that 2 members of our clubs are area directors assistants. Anna Soltis is responsible for club quality program, and Annelina is responsible for area budget. Also, 2 members of our executive committee team are responsible for the special project of the Moscow area community named Random Coffee. So we have really multitasking members who can do different works, different activities. And they are interesting and wonderful people. And this idea is already closer to my purpose. It's people. The most important thing, for my view, is our members. We have 5 new members, and I made a little research among them, asking them why they have chosen our club, Toastbusters. Different answers. For example, only Toastbusters asked me to pay for membership finally. I saw a well-organized, strong executive committee team. All officers work on the meeting hard, sharing all information with all newcomers and members because of people. And the best answer, ready? The best answer, charisma. Charisma of the club, charisma of the executive committee. I don't know, maybe it's a special atmosphere. I was very glad to get such results, as my personal goal during this project was to learn how to find balance for myself, how to keep calm, how to stay soft and kind, simultaneously keeping a warm atmosphere but strict and strong for self-development of every member. And now I observed that I became more patient, more kind, and I see our results. I'm very happy to observe this, and I'm very happy to see more new faces here on every meeting. And I'm very thankful to my team, Annelina, for her kind and tactful feedback while checking my grammar, and Meg Taktagul for preparing all documents, although he can't visit our club meetings now. Alexander Sherbakov for our videos, which help us to observe our progress, and for snacks, which we can enjoy during our break. Nikolai Denisenko for his kind support, and Adil Tashenov for his support in building membership and sharing all experience with me. And of course, Ivan Sankov for fast adapting to his new role as PR manager. And of course, to all of you, you, my dear, created this wonderful atmosphere, and I hope our meetings will be more and more numerous and still useful for all of us. Thank you.
I'm not even asking you whether you liked Irina's speech. Apparently you loved it. Just look at your faces. Want something to tell Irina? You know the drill. Want to do it old school? Raise your hand, I'll approach you. Alright. Here you go, we have several.
Yes, please.
Last speaker for the day. And then it's your turn, newcomers, to take the stage. The last speaker is a special person. He is an international experienced Toastmaster. And he's a stand-up comedian, if I'm not wrong. Are you?
Done a little.
A little. He's a stand-up comedian. And you know what is special about him? Irina is in flow state where she writes speeches. She's writing speeches. Alex is in flow state where he's on the stage and delivering speeches. Perfect Toastmaster. Let's see what a perfect Toastmaster is.
What's your story? Your story matters because stories are life itself. So what story do you have bubbling up inside to share? Because people will listen and people will care. If you look all around the world, there's so many stories that are currently taking place. The different times, faces, different people, and different places. Like 7:30 a.m. in Vienna. 5-year-old Jacob, he's having his first day at school and he's thinking to himself, oh my god, this is really cool! And his mum Rita is dropping him off at the gate. And she waits, trying to hold back her fears for all of the years that she's watched him grow up. But her courage is just not enough. So she drops him off and waves goodbye. And then goes back to her car, and at the steering wheel, she cries. At the same time, over in Spain, Francesca has just been through another kind of pain. She wanted to bring in a new child to the world, and now she has it with her husband, Pablo. They have a little girl. It's a bundle of joy. Although, to be perfectly honest, Pablo actually wanted a boy. It's fine. He's just happy that their child is healthy. And even though Pablo and Francesca, they aren't wealthy, they do have so much wealth of all of the love, and they know that's enough to get through a life without any strife. Same time, but this time 7:30 a.m. in the UK. George has been on the phone and he's having a laugh. He's just got off the train from a city called Bath and he's walking across the park as it's dark but turning to dusk because he must go to his work at the hospital delivering leadership training. Sadly, outside it's raining. But he brought his umbrella, which is lucky for him, but not for another fella who is outside having a bit of a mope because he forgot to bring his own raincoat. So he's at the hospital, outside having smoke. When suddenly a car screeches past, blasting so much rain all over. It goes right into his suit, into his boots, and he's just so stressed. And he's completely covered in all this muck, so he says to the driver, "You stupid forget it." And he's under a bit of stress because he's thinking about saying to his girlfriend Jess, should they make up or break up? Now that's not something that David and Gaia are trying to worry about because later that week in Yerevan they can say yes to a life together forever when they say I do. And their love, it shines through and through. Same time, but this time in New York, just by chance when David and Guy are having their first dance, another David in New York is being told that he's a bit of a dork. So then he gets punched, kicked and shoved into a locker, locked away by the bullies who torment and terrorize him every single day. And over in another city, his older cousin is currently lusting over a crush in a hotel room in Rhodes where he's thrusting and lusting, coupling as a couple for the very first time. And everything in his heart is beating as it shines. But across the door, over the corridor, they're being drowned out because there's a man on a business trip and he's a bit lovesick, thinking, should I text my ex? And he doesn't know. But earlier that morning in San Francisco, there was a homeless couple, and this time they were scheming and stealing off a supermarket shelf, trying to pocket some yogurt into their bag. This old hag, while her man is distracting, a man who's acting as a cashier, but he really has a lot of fear. So he sees a man trying to take something away, and then he shoves him out of the way and says, "Hey! Stop!" And the old man is like, "Don't tell me to stop, or else I'm going to go pop." And that happens round the corner from the street, where Rugged Jim was shooting heroin for the third time that week. Into his arm, he was causing so much harm. he thinks he needs to fix the sadness and the shame that's inside, and he really wants to hide because the day before, through the crack house door, he saw his friend's life come to an end from an overdose, and he doesn't know if he's going to be next. And there was no one to listen when the glisten in his friend's eyes went out, so he doubts that anyone cares about him or his story. Except I was there, and I heard Jim tell that story to me. In fact, all of those stories that I've just told, they've grown inside of me. And some of those people I've grown old and up with, but they're all real stories and they're all true. They're stories that live inside of me through and through. Those stories, they are life itself. It's a wealth of story. Stories like the one my granddad wrote down. My granddad Opa. Now he's dead in the ground, but over the last 10 years of his life, he found the time to write down his stories of his life in pink letters. Stories of life, including the strife of the Second World War, when he had to hide underneath floorboards so he wouldn't get sent to a concentration camp. And then going to set up a factory where he sold lamps and tyres. Sometimes he got fired. When he went to learn English and he was acting like a bit of a clown. But in all of this time, he found the time to write down his story and give it to me, my brother, my sister, and my cousins. And he wrote in one of the pink letters, you can publish these stories one day, maybe you'll get royalties. But the real royalty is that Opa, my granddad's stories, won't perish. It's his stories and the stories of those others I've told I truly cherish. So what's your story? Your story matters, and there are people who will listen, because stories are life itself. So write it down, say it to your children, your grandchildren, and share your story.
What a meeting we have! We started with Vladimir almost dying in an elevator. Then Tanya told us about children with nails in their faces. And Alex wrapped it all up with stories about heroin addict dying somewhere. And his granddad, my granddad is dead. Well, the story is cool. Irina, Lena, Tonya, Toastmasters is not suicidal, depressing thing. Believe it, it's the outlier meeting. We really are happy. No heroin, no nails in the face, nothing like that. But anyway, the speech was pretty good. Technically. No, not technically, everyone.
Yeah, that personal level, yeah,
And Alex asked you specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, to be critical about his speech, because he needs it.
Incredibly critical.
Incredibly critical. So please evaluate his speech, be critical about his speech. You will help him to go through the suicidal speeches marathon or something. congratulations. The first part of the meeting is almost over. Almost over. In about several minutes, you can come to the stage, drink some water, eat whatever you have here, and we have a couple of short announcements before that. And then you have the break. Please welcome the president of the club, Irina Smirnova.
Stay here, please. Dina Shevchuk has to leave now, so and we have to provide a little award ceremony especially for Dina Shevchuk, our great star. First place in our last contest inside the club for humoristic speech. For you. And winter conference where you took which place?
First, but somebody made a mistake.
Second speech in the humoristic speeches in Russian in our winter conference contest, which took place just this weekend. Congratulations! And which color you prefer? Which color?
The red one.
The red one. Fantastic, fantastic, not the gift. It is a special gift from the club for buying some books for you, 1000 rubles.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you, and now the break. Thank you guys, 10 minutes.
Evgenia Pak is general evaluator of today.
Thank you. Thank you for the table topics, Alina.
As a general evaluator, my job is to I have several responsibilities. First of all, I will introduce personal evaluators for the speakers that we heard during the first part of the meeting. The second thing I would do is to invite our facilitators.
Me and like the rest of the audience were completely and mostly engaged in your speech, and I was watching the people sitting around me. They were listening to you, even with tension. What will be next? So we can say that the audience was sometimes really overwhelmed with your speech. Your speech was structured very well. It was structured according to your goals, and you, I think, did everything to make your speech in the interest of the audience. But still, there is something you may want to work on. First of all, you can improve a little bit your eye contact. Your spoken language also has some room for improvement. Sometimes your descriptive language, that is, the language corresponding to your topic, should be more evocative to the plot. To my mind, you didn't use any literary element in your speech, and evidently it's the most negative opinion about the speech. But nevertheless, I like your speech, and I think most of the audience say the same. Thank you.
The only one thing I would add to the evaluation, again, judging from my personal experience, it was very easy for me when I heard personal evaluations to, when personal evaluator was giving me concrete examples from my speech, maybe paraphrasing the sentences and phrases that I've made so that I know how it would sound better if I knew exact sentences. And for example, you said that he could use more descriptive language, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so maybe you could add just examples of what exact descriptive language he would use so that he gets more ideas for his next presentations. And with this being said, I would like to invite the second evaluator on the stage who would be evaluating the second speech. Kristina Shurikina, you're welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He just helped them, and by that he changed everything. So Tatiana telling us about a random person who just helped victims of the explosion. So basically I would say that it is somehow the philosophy of all the Toastmasters clubs all over the world. We're helping each other using some random person giving a feedback. So dear Toastmasters and dear Tatiana, your speech today was to inspire the audience by appealing to noble motives, by using stories, anecdotes, and added a bit of drama. So let's talk a bit about your speech. The first thing I really enjoyed about your speech was your structure. So you had a conclusion, of course, you had a conclusion. You had an introduction, which was started with an open question to the audience. You had your personal story about the son. You had a general example about the victims. You had another personal story. You had a conclusion, and then call to action. Very well done. Structure is a very important point of any speech. The second thing I really enjoyed about your speech was very concrete examples. So let's say this example with victims made people feel even more emotions, because inspiring is impossible without emotions, but at the same time it's very important to add concrete facts which appeal to your needs, dear audience, and your emotions. Very well done. And here I also want to enhance that you used very bright and vivid vocabulary, those words like, I teach my son to trust, he just helped and it changes everything, help somebody you love, and etc, etc. So this very call to action and very kind vocabulary helped you a lot. At the same time, as I have already mentioned to you, you started your introduction from an open question, and here is the point that I would like you to think about, to analyze. So you make an open question to the public, but you even didn't use any pause, and you didn't give even a second to your audience to analyze, to think. So maybe here on the first line, I even didn't understand the question. Frankly speaking, I don't remember it right now. So the same thing you had between the transitions from one part to another part. So from introduction to the main part, people have to to analyze a bit, to go to the second part, take a note. Another thing I would like to mention, probably it's your greatest point to work on, was no usage of the stage at all. You was always staying on the same place. It is an inspirational speech. I wanted you to approach me, to talk with me, and you were staying in the same place and had a lack of contact with you. But at the same time, you used incredible emotions. Your eye contact, your voice, it was wow. I was very touched. I was almost crying together with you. So overall, you had your call to action. Trust each other, be more confident. Like you said, I teach my son to trust. Then let's just help each other to trust each other. Thank you.
As always, thank you very much, Christina, for your very descriptive, your very concrete and very precise evaluations. The one thing that I really enjoyed that you gave very exact examples and actions that the speaker could use in her speech next time. So thank you very much for that. And last but not least, I would like to invite to the stage the third personal evaluator for today. And the third evaluator is Olga Yatsuk. Olga, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Irina, for your wonderful speech. So the goal of Irina's project has been to share aspects of, to share her leadership experience, and namely to share her planning, her goal, and her leadership experience. And so she did just that. Since the content of the speech is equally important to the delivery, I will comment on both of them. This speech has been an informational speech, basically the club development report, but delivered somewhere mid-presidency, right? In under 7 minutes, we've got an awful lot of information about the development of the club, some statistical information, and from the structure of the speech and from the way it was delivered, I could see that Irina is really a very concise and put together person, so I think that was a very important factor in the club's success. Congratulations on that. One thing I lacked was dynamics. I'll explain. We sort of got the point A, the point B, but we didn't really get the transition. I understand this is a very short speech and you have to put a lot of information into it, but so you couldn't really make like a story, maybe. But you could. I'll give you just one example. Instead of telling we conducted several special meetings, you could have said something like that. Well, I asked myself how we increase our mentions on the social media, and this idea came to me. That's already some of the dynamics. Another point is the information is important, but what makes this stick in our heads, in our brains, is emotion. There are different ways to add emotions. This is informational speech, so again, I don't think there should have been a lot of acting or some other stuff. One thing you could have done would be to use more emotional language. You have a great title, great, greater, the greatest. But you don't, I think you didn't use it in your speech, and you could have done that. And you could have used some metaphors as well. And another way to add emotion is, of course, vocal variety. I like the way you deliver your speeches. You're always very clear. You make your pauses. It's the same? I'm sorry. But you were speaking about this club's success, amazing success, and its wonderful members. You could have added a bit of cheerfulness when speaking about your success, and you could have used stage a little more like Christine, Alla mentioned. Like Christina mentioned, for different speech. To conclude my evaluation, I would like to say that, well, kudos for thanking the officers, this is very important, and kudos for thanking club members. In the end of your speech, people usually laugh when you say them how good they are, and since it was the last thing that you said, it's the thing people remember the most. So, yeah, great structure, and congratulations on your speech and the accomplishment, as I understand, of this leadership project.
Just a couple of points I would just add on top of your evaluation is, you use the structure of evaluations, how we do it, the positive things and the things to be improved for the speaker. So you follow that. But one thing I would just add is, I heard a lot of you did this, you said this, you were making this statement, sentences, whatever. But when we give evaluations, it's better, you know that, right? Probably it's better to use more I, like I've observed, I've noticed, I thought. So I'm suggesting to use, because for the speaker it's easier to receive the criticism, not the criticism necessarily, but the suggestion that you are making, and also how you perceive the speaker. For him or her, it's better to understand this way when you are taking all the perception on you, because it's your perception, very subjective, right? So, okay, now we're moving on to the fourth evaluator and the last one, Diana Robertson. You're very welcome.
Dear Toastmasters and dear guests, now one thing our wonderful Toastmaster forgot to tell us is this is not just a normal speech that Alex presented. It was a speech he prepared for a contest. And this is why he wanted the most amount of criticism you could give him. So I hope you guys made an evaluation, or maybe you could talk to him later and tell him what you actually felt. Today, now I will share with you what I felt while listening to this story. First, Alex, your strong points. The theatrical way you made this speech look, how you changed the stage from just being neutral to shouting and screaming. This is fantastic. This is like an actor's job. Well done for that. Also, what I liked is that you surprised me with an unusual format. Because normally people share like one story, okay, two with a casino, for example. But here you shared many stories of many people. Like I could feel as if I'm like in a movie and watching different parts of lives happening at the same time. I really like that. Another thing you're really strong at is your language. I don't know if you guys noticed, but many of his sentences have actually rhymed. Did you notice?
Yes.
It was amazing. Now, little problem, I don't know if everybody understood each word. I don't know, because for me, my vocabulary, I was lacking a little bit of vocabulary. But maybe for your audience, it's not going to be a problem. But here's the main question Alex asked me. Is it a winning speech in a contest? My opinion is subjective. This is why I would like to ask you. Alex wanted this speech to connect with you emotionally. Who, if you felt that you were connected by at least one of the stories he mentioned, please raise your hand. Okay, well actually that's so much. That's most of the audience. I'm sorry, but for me, I did not feel connected. You have selected one of the best ways to connect to people, which is which is telling stories, which is what all TED speakers use. Amazing. But I feel when you really connect, is what makes a story special is when you have like something going on, then a conflict, or everyone tries to solve it, then you solve it, and this is when you really connect. This is when I connect anyway. And here I didn't feel so many conflicts in the stories. There was one story, however, which was the strongest. The heroin addict that who knew he could die, but he still kept on taking the heroin because people would not listen. And that was the strongest story. Others, I felt like they were more like results of different actions and not actual, this connecting stories. I'm sorry, I will take a little bit more time. This is a special speech. Now, how could it be improved? Maybe work on the stories more. For example, the story with the rain, it was great theater, but it didn't connect. I mean, so what that he went to the hospital to deliver his leadership training? I'm sorry, like this is not strong enough for me. One thing it could add, make it even more interesting, maybe if you altered the stories. Now you try to make it up and down, it's a good story, bad story, but maybe you could make it even more, that difference. For instance, you mentioned about the birth. This story should connect. We all have, many of us have experienced that. But maybe you could mention a second story after that where somebody maybe lost his brother somewhere. And this way, we'll just be moving with you up and down throughout the story and really connect with you. Message? Now, Alex, did this speech have a message? Did you understand it? And did it have an impact on you? Now, I'm not going to ask you what did you feel the message was. I will tell you. The message was to tell your story. Now, will you write down your story and share it? Were you inspired to do that after Alex's speech? Who was inspired to write down your story and share it? See, Alex? Something to work on. Now, I have a suggestion. Subjective, again. But we all want to live in eternal lives. We're all afraid of dying. We're afraid of people forgetting about us. Now, how about this conclusion? Write down your story Because story is life itself. And when you die, and even when you die, your story never will. Or your life will go on, or something like that. I don't know. You can work on that, how to make it sound better. But the idea is that we're inspired to share our stories. Because I didn't understand why shall I share my story. But apart from that, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank you for an authentic, well-structured, novel, theatrical, enjoyable, amazing speech. Was it winning speech? Well, you know, it can be. Just a little bit of modifications.
Thank you, Diana. The one point I would just mention that I think very powerful with your evaluations that you're doing, and I think it's very unique because I haven't seen anyone else doing this when you ask the whole audience to ask them questions, and a speaker can actually see what is the reaction. You did it last time with my speech also, and I thought that's very powerful, and it's very you get an instant feedback, you know, like if you succeeded or not. So I really appreciate that, and I think that's a powerful tool to use. So I would like to ask anyone who would like Diana to be his or her personal evaluator. Right? Thank you, Diana. Great evaluation. And with that, it's time for me to move for the second part of my evaluation, which is introducing our facilitators, the group of facilitators. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but Dennis was introducing the walls right at the beginning instead of them, and I didn't really get why. Was it because of the time? The time? Okay. So now I would like to introduce facilitators, and it's actually the time for you to take the stage, which you hadn't before, although you prepared a lot, I assume. So I would like to introduce first a counter. Yeah, the stage is yours. A counter. Oh, no. Oh, sorry, a counter.
I didn't really expect I was going to be first here. So, as usual, with the encounter role, there are many winners, kind of. Some like, is it probably, is it right, De Jong or De Jong?
De Jong.
De Jong, right, sorry. Like Alex De Jong, who is, like, you had no mistakes, and you didn't stop for a moment to think about the speech, like I did right now. Just kind of an achievement. You know that in this area you have nothing to improve, at least for today. And also honorable mentions to Tatiana Gladisheva. Yeah. Good job. But on another side of the spectrum we have Eugenia Pak, who is actually has the most to work on today. Yeah, I'm sorry, but
what can be done?
Well, some come here and they just say the speeches, improve their maybe English speaking skills, maybe their improving their speeches themselves, but like this is one of the areas which all of us should work if we have problems in them. So the most important thing for you is just to slow down, take it easy, and and stop worrying so much. Just yeah, walk in this direction. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback, as I know that's the problem that I'm working on. So yes, thank you for telling me that. The next facilitator that I would like to introduce on the stage is Grammarian. Grammarian.
Hi everybody. I did my best, and I think I'm happiest grammarian, or the worst ever. But I have nothing to say about mistakes. If they were, it were not so important. And every day I'm thinking how and when I can be you and stay here on the stage without shaming my knees. So, and I thought a lot about the word all the day and choose that can be used by everyone, but it's not easy as you can see. However, I have a winner, and it's Irina Suvorova. Yes, you used apparently. So that's all. Thank you.
And lastly, the last role taker is the timer to tell us the importance of timing and how it did in general.
Hi everyone. Let me share my observations, my outcomes with you. So overall, almost everyone managed to deliver their speech within the designated period of time. Well done. But still, there are a few exceptions. So let's name them one by one. Thus, Alena Kim, where is she? Yeah. So she slightly exceeded her maximum of 2 minutes, and it took for her 2 minutes 40 seconds. So not a big deal. Then the next one is Alex. So I think Alex was very excited with acting and took for him 1 minute and 22 seconds longer than it was planned. The next one to mention about was Christina. I think she was also very excited with giving her evaluation, and she exceeded her designated time for 37 seconds. So it took her 3 minutes, 37 seconds. The next one to talk about is Olga, but it's partially, I think, my fault. I fall asleep and didn't show her green light and yellow as well. So she exceeded her speech for 1.5 minutes. And Diana, so for her it took 2 minutes and 26 seconds longer than scheduled. But anyway, well done. I think everyone was good in their time management skills. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, all the facilitators and personal evaluators. And now it's time for me to give the overall feedback for the meeting. A couple of points that I would specifically point out is first, organization. I have a chance to participate at these meetings a couple of times already. Last time I was a Toastmaster, and previously I just participated as a guest. And so with this meeting I always like coming here because it's so organized, and I feel that you guys are doing a very great job preparing for the meeting. I know you're choosing topics very far in advance, a couple of weeks in advance, and you're doing your promotions, and you're actually reminding the speakers about their roles. So really great job with the organization, and also like the back stuff, the cameras and things like that, promotions on Facebook, so really great job. I know about these things because I have been also a part of organization for a very short time. I know it's backstage, but these things are very important, and really it shows the great job that you did already for the club and for growing this community in your club. So great organization. The second thing I would like to mention is about timing. You're very efficient with your time. Every time meeting starts on time. And I also would like to mention that you're one of the clubs that starts at 7:30. So it's very convenient for people who work and finish like 6-ish, 7-ish. It's very convenient for them to participate at your club because all other clubs starts at 7. So yes, you're very distinguished with that. And yes, the one more thing is about your voting system. I have noticed that you're using both QR codes and standard ballots papers, and I think it's being very inclusive from your part, although you've mentioned that you want to change for QR code only. But I feel that, you know, for people who don't really have smartphones, who don't really have QR codes or don't want to use them, I think that's very inclusive thing to have, because obviously we're different generations, and for many people they don't have smartphones, right? They don't use them. So that's one thing that I've noticed. About table, about Toastmaster that I was talking earlier. I think that's very important, even though that's you said it was a short program, but I think it's very important for all the role minor takers to give their introduction, because they prepared beforehand. And for them, taking the stage, I mean, that's the whole purpose, right, of taking the stage. So I think it would be better if they had still that opportunity, even though we were short on time. And with that, I would like to pass to the president, I guess. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your great job, Evgenia. And you can help us to evaluate our meeting using QR code and papers, both as Evgenia mentioned. Who needs in papers? What? Okay, thank you for your feedback. We will grow with your help. Now it's time for closing remarks. As I noticed in my speech, we are implementing DCP program. And regarding educational system, our VP, Anna Ilina, is responsible for observing all our progress. And I would like to invite her on the stage for a small award ceremony.